Gather round, good people, for I have a tale to tell of gods and war and mystery. This is an old tale, some say older than the mountains, and I heard it from another bard called Snorri. He may have heard it from Thor himself, but knowing how storytellers lie, I very much doubt he did. 'Tis a tale of old Thor himself, Lord of thunder and guardian of gods and men. Strong and mighty was he, and honest and an ox, they say, and almost as smart. But for all that Thor did, lack of brains, his strength and courage were second to none. 'Twas he that kept Asgard safe from the marauding giants, slaying hundreds of them with his mighty hammer. One morning he woke up in his war hall, stretched out an hairy arm to pick up his beloved hammer. His fingers felt all over the table beside the bed. Then as the truth did work its way into his brain, his eyebrows shot up, then his mouth turned down at both its corners. Then his beard began to shake from its red roots to its curling red tips. He bellowed so loudly that all of Asgard did shake. "Someone has stolen my hammer!" As quick as he could, he searched every corner of Asgard, fuming and bellowing. At last he found Loki, the trickster, most cunning god of fire and blacksmiths, the least trustworthy of all gods. If anyone had stolen Thor's hammer, Loki could. But Thor remained remarkably calm. He walked up slowly to Loki and said, "Good day, my half-brother. Have you been busy this day, my half-brother? Have you been busy stealing my hammer? What have you done with Mjolnir?" "Well, that is calm for Thor." Of course, Loki said, I didn't see it. And after some serious pleading, Thor put him down. Loki might lie, cheat, and steal, but if he was nothing else, he was a coward. Just looking into Thor's red eyes would make anyone talk, but if Loki didn't have it, who did? And if it wasn't in Asgard, where was it? Then Loki hit upon an idea. The two of them went to Freya, the most beautiful of the goddesses.
"Good Freya, would you lend me your white feather cloak? For Thor's hammer is missing and we must find it."
Well, Freya was blessed with eyes that see the truth, and when she heard that Mjolnir was indeed lost, she knew that Asgard was in trouble.
"Take my cloak. I would give it to you even if it were of gold."
Loki pulled on the feather cloak, and clap! Became a white raven just like that. Off he flew around the worlds until he came to the land of giants, Jotunheim. In that land, on a huge burial mound, sat the king of the giants, Thrym. He was huge, black-haired and black-bearded with great wide hands. He was grooming a herd of horses that were no bigger than sheep to him. Now there is something you should know about giants. They are very big and very strong, but they are not very bright. You remember how simple I told you Thor was? Well, compared to the giants, he was a genius. But giants have something almost as good as brains. They know magic. So when Thrym saw a white raven flying overhead, he saw right through the spell and saw Loki underneath. The giant king smiled evilly.
"Loki, how is everything in Asgard? Why are you here all alone?"
Loki stayed high above the giant's reach and called down,
"Terrible news for the gods. I'm afraid Thor's hammer is missing."
Thrym began to laugh. He laughed so hard that boulders on nearby mountains started to roll around.
"Oh, I know that. I've buried the thunder hammer 8 leagues beneath the earth. If you ever want to see it again, bring me the beautiful Freya to be my bride."
Loki flew around Asgard, and the second he removed the cloak and turned back to himself, Thor grabbed his arm.
"Tell me what you found."
Loki was afraid to tell the thunder god what he'd heard, so he put it off.
"Let me rest a minute."
"No," the thunderer growled, his red beard bristling.
"Men who sit down forget what they have to say, and those who lie down lie. Thrym has your hammer. He will only get it back if Freya is to be his wife."
So Thor took Freya's cloak back to her. When he gave it to her, he told her,
"There is only one way to get my hammer. You must come to Jotunheim with me and marry Thrym."
Now how would you feel if you had to marry the biggest, stupidest, ugliest person in the world? That's exactly how Freya felt. She stamped her foot and screamed.
"I would have to be absolutely man-crazy to marry a stupid, ugly, nasty creature like Thrym. I won't do it no matter how many hammers he has stolen."
All the gods had held council, since this was very important. After all, Thor was all that kept the giants out of Asgard. Without his hammer, he wouldn't be able to stop them. But over to one side sat Heimdall, the guardian of the rainbow bridge that connects the earth to Asgard. His eyes were so keen that he could see the hairs on a cat's heads all the way across the world. Some say he could see into tomorrow. Heimdall stood up and said,
I have a plan. Let's get one of Freya's dresses, summerful jewelry, and a heavy veil. We could put it on Thor. Thor would never know the difference. What? Put me in a dress? Make me up like a girl? Never. I won't stand for it.
He ranted and raved, so it took most of the gods to hold him down. But crafty Loki liked the plan. Besides, seeing Thor in a bridal dress was too good to miss.
We have no choice. If we don't give Thrym a bride, you won't get your hammer back. So hold your tongue. I too will put on a dress and go as the bridesmaid.
So they put him in a dress, put a veil on his face, and a wig of horsehair on his own red locks. Loki put on a dress and fetched the Thunderer's chariot, pulled by 2 great goats. When at last they left, Thor drove the magic goats hard, splitting mountain tops left and right. The wooden wheels rumbled thunder from the very clouds. Thrym heard the thunder and knew it was Thor's chariot, but when he saw who it was driving, he was overjoyed. Remember I told you the giants know magic? But Thor wasn't disguised by spells. It was only paint, and since giants are not too bright, Thrym felt sure that the driver had to be his blushing bride. He ran to his meat hall, kicking his lazy subjects awake. Up, you foul ogres! Freya is come to be my bride. 4 whole oxen were roasting to make a feast, along with 16 whole salmon and 20 barrels of ale. Once the bride had arrived, Thrym took them inside and showed them the high seat for feast. He spoke to his bride and teased her, but Thor refused to speak. This alarmed Thrym, and he turned to Loki and asked, Why does he not talk? Loki answered,
Oh, my lord, she was so excited that when she heard she was to be your wife, she shouted for joy for 8 whole days. She has made herself hoarse.
This seemed to satisfy the giant king, so they started a feast. Now giants eat quite a lot, but no one ate as much as the bride, who ate a whole ox, 8 whole salmon, all of the cakes, and washed it down with 4 barrels of ale.
How can she eat so much? I've never seen a woman eat so much. Oh, my lord, she was so happy when she heard she was to be your wife, she couldn't eat a thing in 8 days.
This seemed to satisfy the giant. Well, I told you he was stupid. Later in the feast, he got the idea to steal a kiss from his bride. He lifted up the veil just a little and dropped it again in fear.
Her eyes are so red and fierce.
But crafty Loki replied,
Oh, my lord, she was so excited about being your wife that she hasn't slept in 8 days.
Thrym looked troubled, but he believed the trickster.
She hasn't slept or eaten, and has been rejoicing for 8 days? Let us not delay the wedding. Let us be married now.
Thor almost jumped, but the always plotting Loki interrupted.
Oh, good King Thrym, shouldn't you bring out Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, to honor your part of the bargain? Thrym thought a bit, which was hard for him, and cried, Bring out the hammer, and lay it across her knees.
But when the hammer touched Thor's knees, he snatched it up and struck Thrym in the forehead. Then he struck Thrym a mighty blow, killing him all at once. Then he proceeded to clear the meat hall. One by one, all of the giants foolish enough to try him fell. All of the others ran away, and that is the tale of the theft of Thor's hammer, and how he won it back again.
I don't think we should include more. Okay, we're done. I did it. I did it. Now I'm gonna lose my voice.